Welcome back, everybody, here to East Texas tonight on East Texas Now. If you don't know who I am, my name's Kylie Neal. I will be taking you through all the way up until 11 p.m. tonight. We're going to go ahead and kind of kickstart our evening with a guest who I told you about, and he might sing, he might not. I threw up a picture there of you singing that I did find, but we're going to go ahead and bring in our guest tonight. It is going to be Brian Penny. Hello, welcome in here to East Texas tonight.
Well, thank you, Kylie. Glad to be here.
Of course. So we're going to go ahead and kind of get to know you a little bit tonight. But for those of you that don't know, tonight on East Texas Tonight, we're getting to know a familiar face you might know or you might have seen, whether it be at a cafe, restaurant, bar and grill, whatever it might be. He's a local musician and actually a former educator. We were chatting about this earlier. He spent much of his time performing music and refurbishing homes too, right?
Yeah, I've done a couple of flips.
Apparently he does a lot of different things around East Texas, but from classroom to stage, Brian Penny, he's built a life kind of centered around creativity, and we're going to get to know that. For viewers who may not know you yet, what do we need to know?
Well, I'm married and have 3 children, grown children, and got a total of 8 grandchildren. Keeps us pretty busy. I started my life here in Tyler, Texas. Grew up in Linden, Texas, northeast of here, actually, and moved over here in about '84, and I've been around here ever since. Started off in the banking business for about 8 or 9 years as a loan officer, and did that for quite a while, and then got into education, then came out and went into sales, and then found my way back to education, and I've got a total of 20 years in education and retired now from that.
Nice.
And, so currently, I have done a couple of flips, real estate flips on some residential houses, and then I play music. I've got 2 things going on. I play by myself as a solo artist, doing a lot of acoustic rock and a little country, and then I have a rock and roll band we call Bad Connection. And Bad Connection, some people say it's a bad idea. But
that was funny. That was funny.
Yeah,
I have to give it to you. Well, let's kind of spin off back towards education.
Sure.
Including kind of serving as vice principal in Lindale, actually.
Right,
Where was it at?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Where was it at again?
E.J. Moss was the campus that I was on. That's a 4, 5, and 6 campus.
All right.
Intermediate. Yeah.
What led you into the career of education?
Well, that's a good question. I kind of got my start with an organization that you might be familiar with called Junior Achievement. So when I was a loan officer back in the day in the business world, I did a lot of volunteering in the public schools with Junior Achievement, and I just kind of got a taste for it and really enjoyed that. And next thing I knew, I was certified in teaching school.
Okay, well, let's get into a little bit of the music here. I guess, who were some of your biggest musical influences growing up?
Okay, well, that's a pretty interesting question because I grew up in a little town called Linden, Texas. Linden, Texas was the hometown of a very famous musician, Don Henley, who's a drummer and lead singer for the Eagles. And so some of the same folks, same guys that taught him to play, I grew up, of course, 20 years later, but I came along and through that influence of his music and those old guys who taught me how to play, they were the Bowden brothers, some real sweet people, that was one of my biggest influences and kind of drew me into it, as a kid.
Okay. Well, how would you describe your style of music today?
Well, I guess that style that we're talking about, that country rock, southern rock thing is kind of my deal. It's where I focus. My acoustic sets are all acoustic rock, and then of course the band is 70s and 80s rock and roll. So,
right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
what do you enjoy most about performing live? Because I know I'm streaming here live all
Yeah.
day long, right? The nerves kind of just go away sometimes. But
Right.
sometimes you got a little flutter in there. What's it like performing live, singing, playing music? I can't imagine.
It's exciting, and I guess the biggest thrill is, part of it is the crowd. Seeing the people enjoying themselves, being entertained. I love that part of it, and just especially in the band, is just playing with other musicians, being able to kind of put the whole thing together and play as one unit, and just have a great time with each other. That's what we try to do. We have a good time, and we always tell the crowd, the more you drink, the better we are. So, but we're having a good time.
Yeah.
And so that's what I just love playing with the guys, and I love to watch the crowd enjoy themselves.
Well, do you think it ever kind of brings you back? Do you ever remember the first time that you played in front of a crowd live?
You mentioned that earlier a few minutes ago, and I'm trying to think when that would have been. It probably was at church, or for a family gathering or something. Might have one of my first times, but I don't remember the exact specific time. It was one thing we had in that little small town that I think even Tyler had years ago. The Lions clubs would put on these big talent shows.
Yeah.
It was fundraisers, and that was probably one of my first real serious live performances. I would be involved in that show every year as a kid.
All right. Well, if you had to pick one song, if you were playing live tonight, what is one of your favorite songs right now?
One of my favorite songs I'm doing right now is a song called Missing You. It was done back in the 80s by John Waite, and I really like that song, and here lately been doing that quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, when you play live, do you have any guests or people in the crowd that are like, hey, will you play this song? And what song do they always request?
We get that a little bit. We don't do a lot of requests unless you write it on a $100 bill. And funny story, I did have that happen one night. So I'll always make that joke playing live. And this guy walks up a few minutes later. He says, he hands me a $100 bill. He said, "Can you do some Johnny Cash?"
Yeah.
Now, remember, we're
like, yeah, I can
we're
do
70s
Johnny
and
Cash.
80s rock and roll. So we did a little Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash for some cash, right?
Oh yeah, Johnny Cash for cash. That's exactly right.
Okay. Well, how has the East Texas music scene changed over the years? Because obviously, you've seen it, been
Right.
there, done that for quite
Right.
some time, right?
Yeah, and I was kind of in it for a while and out of it for a while. I've done, both the live thing locally in the establishments, and then I've done a lot of praise and worship and church stuff as well. And I think now to me, it seems like we've got quite a few more places that are, allowing local music to perform and a lot of solo opportunities.
Yeah.
I think a little bit more than full band opportunities, but for us anyway. But yeah, it's grown quite a bit and growing. We've got
Of course it is.
Yeah, we've got a lot of growth going on and some effort by the Chamber of Commerce in the city to promote it more. So those things are really
Awesome.
positive, and
Yeah.
I'm proud to see that happening.
Well, what do you think performing in East Texas makes it just so special to you?
Well, you're just playing for the home folks, Playing a lot. I love playing for my friends. It's great to see some friends come out, and as we talked earlier, East Texans are just some of the friendliest people you'll ever find.
Yeah.
Very cordial. Always, love to have a good time and appreciate what you do. And that's what I like.
Yeah. Well, of course. Do you perform, or I guess, do you prefer smaller, intimate venues or larger crowds?
I like the small deal. Yeah, I mean, I don't like necessarily play for 2 or 3 people.
Yeah.
But I will,
Okay.
and I've had some fun times with just 3 or 4 people, who hung till the end,
Yeah.
so to speak. But
Yeah.
I like the small crowds. The small places are fun.
Okay.
And yeah, that's probably my favorite.
Which one or what performance per se do you think would be the most memorable of all time in East Texas?
Of all time in East Texas.
If you had to pick one.
Well, so that would be a hometown performance, actually. So there is the old Legion Hall in Linden is now called Music City, Texas.
Okay.
And that venue's been around for about 20 years now. And there's been quite a few notable musicians, touring musicians, that have come through there and played that place. And not as many now as there used to be. But I got the invite to bring the band up there, and we've done a couple of gigs up there. And it was a really, really great opportunity because I had probably 30-ish, 40-ish members of my family from both sides of my family, mama and daddy's side, right? Who had never really been in the same room together
Right.
and had come to see me play. And
Yeah.
that was a real special time. So.
Awesome. All right, well, let's talk about life outside of music because
Okay.
we know you're not just a singer. You don't just do, former education. You don't just walk around town all day. You do other things like refurbish homes.
Right.
So
yeah.
tell me a little bit about that side of your life.
Okay, so I've done two where I've rehabbed the houses. One was a light rehab, and then this last one was a pretty major overhaul. And so took about
Took some time?
Well, there was nothing but stud walls when I got it. So yeah, we rehabbed the entire house, and I recently sold it about 2 weeks ago. Finally sold. But it took about 4 months to rehab, and then had a little holding period waiting on the market to wake up a little bit. And so I don't do a lot of the work myself. I have most of it, subcontracted out, and just put my team together. And this one I just tried. It was a little 1,400 square foot house. Just tried to put together a nice, clean home and put it back together like it used to be, so to speak.
Awesome.
So
That's actually
I had a
really
great time
cool.
doing it. It's a lot of fun to do that.
Do you find that stress relieving in between the music and whatever else?
Well, yeah, I think so. During the construction process, it's a lot of fun and stress relieving. Gives you something to do.
Oh yeah.
Now it's not quite as fun waiting for 3 or 4 months for it to sell. So
I'd say so.
Yeah, 'cause there's an interest payment to be made, and
Yeah.
and you got holding costs, so the stress picks back up during that period. But yeah.
Okay. Well, when you're not playing music or working on homes, how do you spend your free time?
Well, I have another little company you may not be aware of. I've had for quite a while. I have a little carpet cleaning business and floor cleaning business, and which
Fun facts.
which has been my side gig for almost 15 years. And so I still will clean some and do a little bit of that. And but as far as I still like to fish and hunt a little bit, do some of that.
Okay. Well, are you more of an outdoorsman, traveler, or a homebody?
Probably a little more of an outdoorsman. Yeah,
Like to be out and about.
I do like to be out and about.
Right
Yeah.
on. All right. Favorite hidden gem in East Texas?
Favorite hidden gem. In
Whether
East
that be
Texas.
shopping, food, a park, a running trail. I wouldn't share where you like to go hunt. Wouldn't want anybody else to take that, If there's just something that you're like, that is one of my favorite spots.
One of my favorite spots. That's a good question. I hadn't thought about that.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. You got me stumped a little bit.
Okay.
I love. There was a great little taco place over near this house I was
Ooh,
rehabbing called
okay.
Joey's Tacos.
Joey's Tacos.
Joey's,
I'm gonna
not
mentally
far
make
from
a
here.
note.
Yeah, I love Joey's Tacos. Are really good. And I love Hobbies. Hobbies is one of my favorite places.
All right.
Love the deck at Hobbies.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good deal. Okay, well, what's one thing that you hope to accomplish one day before we go?
One thing to accomplish. Well, one thing I'm working on now a little more than I have been in the past is my songwriting. And, I hope at some point I'd love to accomplish having one of my songs recorded by someone else.
Yeah.
Somebody famous would be nice, but it doesn't have to be, just as long as someone else, picked up one of my songs and found the value in it and wanted to record it. That would be something I'd like to accomplish.
That's so cool. Okay, well, what's one lesson from your years in education that still sticks with you today? Oh, boy.
Well, I think the biggest lesson I learned from education is that the most important thing is building relationships. You can teach someone to manage a curriculum, do lesson plans. You can teach them all of that stuff, but you can't teach relationship building. That's something that comes from inside, and that's, to me, some of the most important thing as an educator is to be able to build that relationship with your students. and build that trust and that love. And if they know you love them, you can teach them.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here for East Texas tonight. It was so great to get to know you. Again, this was Brian Penny, former educator, now local musician. And hopefully we'll see you around town singing, songwriting, maybe even stopping at, what is it, Joey's Tacos?
Joey's Tacos, Hobbies. Be glad to meet you at Hobbies anytime.
All right. Well, Mr. Penny, thank you so much for joining us here on East Texas.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
We'll catch you next time.
All right.
All right, everybody. So with that said, we're going to take you guys over here to your time machine. Let's step into the time machine for an out-of-the-world moment back in 2012. Can you imagine looking up into the night sky and seeing a massive glowing white ball of fire, well, streaking right above you? Let's take you to 2012.
Forrest Monroe Lovelady, Skip Herring, and a Texas police car camera have something in common. They were all looking at the right place at the right time and spotted this white glowing blob moving through the night sky.
I was laying rock building a small fireplace, and I looked up there and I seen like what a meteorite seemed to go like through the sky. About 5 or 6 seconds of it had like sparks and flames just flying off the back of it.
I live just north of Gresham, and I have to make a left to turn into my subdivision, and right in front of me was that big ball of fire, kind of like Jerry Lee Lewis. I knew it wasn't a shooting star, and then I realized it was moving, and about the time I focused in on it, it actually burned up.
Skip almost got a picture, but he only saw it for a few seconds. Tom Hooten is director of the Earth and Space Science Education Center at Tyler Junior College. He didn't see the object, but he's seen the video and heard the FAA has called it a meteor.
The term meteor simply means that bright streak that's in the sky. As to what causes that, could be 2 or 3 different things. It could be a piece of space junk, in other words, some type of man-made object that is falling back through the atmosphere and producing the bright streak or the meteor. Or it could be a natural stone like an asteroid or a meteoroid.
Tom also says objects that large commonly whiz through our atmosphere, but usually not during prime time over populated areas. On the planet Earth, Jamie Boyum, KLTV 7 News.
Well, welcome back to 2026. Thankfully, that dash cam caught the mystery on tape, or people might have thought these witnesses were just seeing things. Well, experts say whether it was a rocky visitor from deep space or a piece of old satellite junk, it certainly gave East Texas a spectacular primetime show. All right, everybody, it's time for some of your good news. We've got time for one story. Let's take you to Waldo County and some of your national news as the community is coming together to support those impacted by the Robbins lumber explosion.
We have a great community in Waldo County. I would say the best community in the country.
Canteen 19, an organization based in Unity that helps first responders in times of need, says they estimated to have supplied more than 250 first responders on scene with food and drinks, with added assistance from local stores such as the Fraternity Village General Store.
Our job was to get the food in and ship it out. We had a side-by-side that was coming around delivering the food to the different crews.
As well, the Belfast Soup Kitchen says they supplied more than 80 meals to first responders.
So we get the call from EMA to help, and we're there. Whatever we're asked to do, we make sure we can do it, and we're responding to that. We will continue to respond to families in need as this continues.
The town of Searsmont announced while the annual Memorial Day Parade will go on as scheduled thanks to community support, the annual barbecue has been canceled. Instead, a benefit barbecue will be held in the coming weeks with proceeds going directly to support victims and their families.
Starting from May 15th to now, the outpouring is amazing. We have a beautiful little community here, 1,400 people, and now we have the whole community, the whole county, county-wide, 3-4 counties probably.
Waldo County community members say the amount of support to help victims is truly mind-boggling.
My mom always says Maine is a neighborhood, it's not a state. Maine is my home. I love my home, and I love the people in my home, and just the way the community just rallies together and comes together. And this was just such a testament to that.
And we all know each other, and so the emotional fallout from this and the way that it weighs heavily on all of our friends that we need to be there to support in a multitude of ways is important, and that's what community is about.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us here on East Texas Tonight. For all the latest updates, you can join us every single weeknight. Monday through Friday, we'll be here on East Texas Tonight with different guests. And if you're interested, go ahead and email us and we'll let you guys know. You can download the East Texas Now app. Drop in the chat, hey, I'm interested in coming on. I've got a cool talent that I want to share. You can go ahead and drop that in the chat. We'll send you guys over an email, and we'll get back with you with a date and a time. Thanks so much for watching East Texas Tonight. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning.